Hello everyone and welcome to Magic and Musing. My name is Candice. Welcome here if you're new or if you've been hanging with me for a bit, and thank you so much for your subscriptions and your support wherever you're watching this channel or if you're listening to this on the podcast. So let's just take a moment to slow down and tune in and open up the space. So just getting really comfortable in your chair, if you're seated or however it is that you're consuming this, in whatever position you are. And just taking a couple of breaths here. Doesn't have to be anything in particular. Just bringing awareness to the now moment, the present moment. So whatever that feels like for you, whether it is by doing an internal check-in, whether it is by adjusting your seat and, popping a pillow behind you or grabbing a drink, whatever it is. It's just to acknowledge the here and the now and bringing a strong emphasis back to this space of operating from presence, operating from the now moment, not putting too much focus on the past, even though that is relevant, and so is the future, but more so just a focus on being. And I find it a little ironic that we're called human beings, yet this is something that for the most part we actually struggle with, is just being present. So this is just a call to really become more aware of what is happening in presence all the time, right? Like right now, I'm just looking at one of my weird calls, like what the heck's going on? But anyway, I digress. So let's dive in. I will say the energy is fairly calm today, very calm, in fact, which is very, how does this want to be said? It's contrasting what has been felt in the previous reads, right? Okay, we got that out. We got there eventually. So yeah, there's just a calmness to it. I literally did a read yesterday and the energy was so hyper. So I'm just acknowledging and being aware of the current energy, and then as we move through this, we'll see how things kind of flow. So let's see what wants to be spoken to today, what wants to be reflected on, and what the energy is in the collective. Let's just do a collective energy check-in and just see what wants to come through. Being mindful that this is energy, which is fluid, and not every message is going to resonate with everybody. So yeah, what do we want to pull from today? Okay, alrighty. I'm getting a gist of what is happening in the collective. There's like this interesting. On the split, we have the crumbling, and I was literally going to say it's like this awakening that's happening in the collective. Call it what you want. I'm not putting it under any specific banner. All I'm saying is that things that are not of a authentic nature is coming to an end. On the other side, we've got the ever unfolding rose cracked open. It's happening for you, not to you. I feel that's really, really relevant here. And the crumbling card says, what are you clinging on to? So this is speaking to ideas, concepts, belief systems that don't resonate with you, or in a more practical sense, actually doesn't make any sense. So I feel like that is happening very much so in the collective. People are waking up, and I'm not saying this in a woke, like in the woke sense. I mean, people are becoming, how does this want to be said? They're unbinding from a reality that is false. Does that make sense? Unbinding from a reality that is false. So basically seeing through the illusion. Okay, let's do one more shuffle. Okay, let's see what's happening. Let's see what's going on. Okay. We've got share your voice. I cannot make this shit up. The crumbling just came out again. So not only did it come out on the split, it's actually come through the cards. And this is a what? How many cards in this deck? 44 cards. One more. We've got Lemuria on the bottom, creating heaven on earth. It's happening. The reason for this complexed face is because perplexed, excuse me. This look of perplexion on my face is because we've got the leap card. You go first, the universe will catch you. But at the same time, we've got postpone, pause, say no. So I will get some clarification on that. But yeah, so the other cards I've already spoken to. The crumbling. This is definitely happening within the collective. If you haven't already noticed, share your voice, come out of the cave. It's very interesting because it's a little bit of a personal thing there, cave. But I won't speak to that. Persecution, expression. And then we've got those two, the leap and the no. So, I mean, straight off the bat, what that might be about and what it feels like is that element of discernment, right? Because here's this card saying, leap, take the leap, you go first, the universe will catch you, which, for all intended purposes, is just speaking to surrendering, right? And leaning into how life, God, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, works through us, right? And just as we're moving through this, when there are pauses and things, like if you're new to the space, when there are pauses, either space is being held for whatever thoughts are kind of passing through, or sensations, etc. So yeah, there's just a witnessing of some thoughts, but I don't feel like it's relevant here. And yeah, anyway, talking about the leap and the no, there's this need to be discerning with things. Okay, taking a step back, going back to after that train of thought went a little bit crazy there. The leap card speaks to, and is suggestive of surrendering, allowing, and trusting, right? Trusting that there is a quote unquote higher power that takes care of us, or yeah, I don't know how else to say this without, how does that want to be explained, if it wants to be explained, because sometimes we can get caught up in a lot of words and a lot of concept, and that's not really how I want to roll. So yeah, these two cards is perfectly describing this concept of discernment, and how you know, we can surrender and we can you know, go on that fool's journey path, but there is also common sense that has to take place in that perspective, right? Like there needs to be some sort of awareness of what is truth, what is real, and what is not. So I feel like that is why that is coming up. And I'm also seeing the moon on that card. There's also a lot of yeah, just the depictions itself on these cards are very curious to me. I'm not going to speak to it, but I do see that there's this type of common thread happening here. But yeah, anyway, speaking to the moon, there is a full moon, I believe, in Taurus. Is it, what's today's date? The 14th. It's definitely happening this week, if I'm not mistaken. It might actually be tomorrow, or is it the 16th? Is today the 14th? Fuck, man. I don't even know what the date is, to be honest with you. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know what the date is, but there is a full moon, I believe, this week. So that might be significant for some. There's some sensations being felt right now, and I'm just gonna let that move through. So the crumbling reminds me very much so of the Tower card in the tarot. And with the Lemuria card at the base of the energy, it's like this crumbling is happening for a reason. Now, many might not feel that way, and that is completely okay. We are all allowed to have our perspectives, right? We're all allowed to have our perspectives, but it doesn't necessarily make it true. That's just a side note. But I do feel like this is happening for us and not to us. I mean, this is pretty much what this card is saying, is that this is happening, this crumbling is happening, and it's happening for us. It's happening because it needs to happen. I'm not sure why I'm getting the phrase gateway to ascension. I don't know what relevance that plays, but I'm just putting it out there. But these kinds of cards just remind me of that. Even the no card just reminds me of that also the Hierophant card in the tarot, right? It's like learning lessons, and I'm feeling that might be about, you know, crumbling of some types of authority and belief systems and constructs that really have no value in this human experience, except for being able to learn from it, to remember who we are, to learn more about ourselves and our purpose here. A little bit of a interesting energy flowing through, so just breathing through this. But let's go ahead and grab some tarot, or some cards actually. Yep, what I will do is that. So, you know, not quite sure where this is placing in your life, but that doesn't really matter. As I said, energy is fluid, and this is whoever I'm speaking to. You'll be pulled here for a reason, and so just take what you need from it and leave the rest. Okay, one more. Wouldn't be surprised if that card comes back out. It's a lot. Okay, so we've got Uranus change. Sorry, I'm so immature. We've got Uranus change, and we've got midheaven pinnacle, and this is interesting. This is very fascinating to me, because this is kind of what I was saying about this. There seems to be this thread in the cards, and I just saw these pyramids. I don't know if you can see. There's one there and one there, and that, I think of the peak, I think of a pinnacle when I see those cards, or that symbolization, even though in current culture it's being utilized in a very deceptive way. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, this reminds me of this idea of a peak, a pinnacle. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening right now, is we're reaching this pinnacle in society. This is so general, man. But I think what happens is, when something happens in this way on a global scale or collective scale, there's a main kind of thread that moves through, and then it just affects different people differently. So that's, as I said, just place it where it needs to be placed, if it so resonates. Otherwise, let it go. So there's this pinnacle that we are reaching in society at the moment, and this is around a change that's happening, that needs to happen. I did say I was going to pull some more cards about this leap and the no card. But this is saying to me, you know, it's okay to share your voice. In fact, it's encouraged. But there's also that discernment. This is why this is here. This discernment of realize that it is still only ever a perspective, right? It's a perspective. So we all have our opinions. We all have our belief systems. And that is based on a perspective, on an idea. It's not necessarily based in truth. So there's a bit of releasing that's happening for you, perhaps. Maybe you're releasing certain types of ideas on what this looks like, I feel. Sharing your voice. And I'm hearing sharing it authentically. I'm also getting the Hermit card with this. So sharing from a perspective of having worked through the shadows, having worked through ideas that you may have, and not necessarily, and also, sorry, before I continue with that thread, from a space, because of the Hermit card, from a space of holding space for yourself, right? Holding, like regulating yourself, regulating your emotions, regulating your feelings, regulating your thoughts. And from that space, you can then be able to discern what is necessary and what is not. I hope that makes sense to people. It's like, and I've been seeing this as well, when you are regulated, when someone is regulated and they are in, say, a debate or in a situation where someone is being argumentative or projecting a lot of shit onto you, when you're speaking from a space of regulation and calmness, you can then address things from a very diplomatic perspective and not get caught up in any hype that either doesn't make sense or doesn't resonate with you. So I do feel like this is what this is speaking about, is, and also the leap card and the no card. This is about using your voice, through a time that is very tumultuous, can be tumultuous, you know, if you're dealing with something very personal. There's a need to speak your voice or speak up on things that just don't make sense, or from a very centered space, right? Okay, let's get a card for the leap and the no. We've got Ceres, nurture. I might read a bit of that one, just to get more context. Okay. Where do we want to read from? Okay, I think this is where it is quite relevant, because it does speak of nurturing and this sort of thing. Advocate for those who are weaker, vulnerable, or dependent. If your progeny, your project, or your harvest is being taken from you before ripening, be ready to starve the world until they are safe. Witness with strength and power. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. When the time is right, be willing to let go. For your progeny or creation to flourish, they must embark on their own journey. Once your job as a nurturer is complete, let go and step into your next level of your own mastery. It also goes on to say, do not mistake smothering, enabling, or infantilizing actions as signs of love. Once you release the object of your care, your life is not over. A new mystery begins. There is sacredness in your daily life. Loving, feeding, nurturing, gardening, and being in family, whether chosen or biological, are all part of your powerful spiritual path. The mother holds you. What I get from this is what was being spoken to before, about thoughts and feelings and perspectives that might not necessarily be true for everybody, right? It's a thought, it's a feeling, it's temporary, it's not a permanent situation. And so I feel like there is a need to be very aware of that very intemporary, is that a word? Intemporary, non-temporary, whatever, not permanent state. And again, making decisions or being in present moment and understanding that certain beliefs and thoughts that are, how does this want to be said, that are not serving the good of all may need to be released during this time, will be released, if not will be released during this time. And there's a need to nurture the things that are going to be helpful in the situation, as opposed to the things that are going to hinder. I hope this makes sense. I'm trying to keep it as general as possible. But yeah, it's also about letting go of the things that we've nurtured. In this case, belief systems that we've nurtured. And this is where things can get really tricky, because if we believe in something so much to the point that we negate any kind of common sense, this is where it can get really dicey. So there's a need to be super aware of any ideas and concepts that you've nurtured that either are no longer relevant, either do not have any, or not based on common sense whatsoever, or does not resonate or align with either your highest good or the highest good for all. Very deep read today. What is going on, people? At the bottom we have partnership as well. So this could be about relationships, like what are you putting up with in your connections, in your relationships, that you're like, wait, what? You know, questioning certain behaviors or concepts or ideas on how to relate to people, things that have been programmed, like how society influences the way we connect with other human beings, how we connect with ourselves. This is where the discernment is coming in, and this is what is changing. I feel it's going to be a slow process, but I'd rather that than be stuck in the illusion, you know? Okay, let's play around with the tarot. Let's dig a bit deep here. Okay, show us what we need to see in regards to this idea here, this perspective, this contemplation, whatever this is about, if this is in partnership. Because the interesting thing is, when I was shuffling before, I did see the Lovers card, so this could be about connections. Doesn't have to be romantic, but it could be familial, siblings, in regards to siblings, in regard to one-to-one connections. Doesn't have to be. So yeah, I'm just moving some of these around, so I've got more space on my little table. But yeah, that gateway to ascension is really, really interesting. Anyway, all right, let's see, what's the current energy, what's going on? Did I not say that this card reminds me of the Hermit? Can't make it up. Okay, I mean, 78 cards in this deck, and that's the card that comes up. All right, one more for current energy. Okay, so we've got the Hermit. We've got the Queen of Pentacles showing up in the shadow here. Ooh, my God, this is interesting. And then we've got the Wheel of Fortune. So, this is very, very interesting because what I see from this, when the Queen of Pentacles shows up in reverse, this can be an energy of focusing too much on wealth and too much on the material than anything else. Like that takes precedent over anything else. So the fact that it's here in between the Hermit and the Wheel of Fortune, if you're listening on the podcast, well, actually, it doesn't matter if you're listening on the podcast, but I do want to speak to these cards because obviously you can't see it unless you're sitting and watching the video version. But, very interesting. Witness when the distraction happens of the mind, when it's trying to pull you off the path. Just, for some reason, that is being made aware of this. The distraction of speaking. So this is an energy of being aware while you are in the space of sharing your voice, sharing your perspective, which, by the way, if you are watching this the time that it's posted, there's a lot of this kind of thing happening where people's opinions and voices are being suppressed. I'm talking to you from Australia, and there's this bill that is trying to be passed to basically have our voices shut down by the government. But anyway, I digress. This is interesting that politics are coming through here, but anyway, whatever. This is kind of what it seems like is happening here. So there's this need to be aware of the distractions that come in when you are in the space of sharing your voice and sharing a perspective that, we can share. But there's also this note of it is a perspective. So that means that's arising to you, right? It doesn't mean you have to enforce that on other people. So during this process of you finding yourself, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're outwardly expressing your voice, right? It could mean that this is a very internal process where you're just discovering who you are and you're really remembering the truth and stepping back from everything external. And what can happen during that process, I pretty much shared this in the read yesterday, is that when that process happens, when you start unraveling from beliefs and concepts and all of these things, the mind comes in, ego, whatever you want to call it, the mind comes in and tries to distract you from that path. And that can play out, because we're all one consciousness, that can play out either within, like the actual mind saying things, self-talk, some people call it self-talk, or outside of yourself. So people projecting certain ideas onto you, like, why are you saying this thing, like, all that kind of thing. It's false, it's this, it's that. It's like, okay, fair enough, but it's a perspective, right? I'm entitled to a perspective. Doesn't mean it's true, but this is just what is currently moving through me. Where is this reading going? Like, anyway, so I'm seeing this key on the table of this hermit. I've not noticed that before. In full fairness, I've not had this deck for very long. But the interesting thing is that the hermit is here kind of twice because of the other deck. And it's putting a lot of emphasis on not necessarily physically going into a cave, right? Or with this card here, we're not necessarily going into a cave or going on a retreat or, you know, getting away from society for a while. Like, that's not the representation of the hermit. It's about going within and finding that inner solitude, that inner peace. I was speaking to it in the beginning, that calm, like regulating your nervous system. This is what I feel for myself anyway, what the hermit represents. It's this taking space for yourself. We kind of did it at the start, where we're like, let's slow down, let's pause and fucking breathe. You know, like, many of us don't actually breathe properly. We just have this shallow type of breath. And we do see this a lot in outside. We do see it in society where people are just like constantly rambling, and it's like, mother effer, take a, like, breathe. You know, it's like, shoo. Sometimes when people speak really fast, and I used to be one of those people that speaks really, really fast. I'm now trying to be more conscientious of, like, have you breathed in the last 30 or so seconds or minute that you've been chattering? This is, you know, this is just about essentially discernment and bringing awareness back within. And then we have the Wheel of Fortune, which is like, in doing so, I feel a lot of people are really starting to discern this dichotomy of, well, essentially, it's all duality, but this imbalance of power, of resources, of stability. And I feel like the more people go within, the more people take their space and, do whatever you need to do to regulate, whether it's, meditation or physical activity or, just getting off social media, which I highly recommend. It's things like that, things that can help you regulate. The more we start doing that and start unraveling from what it is that's being perpetuated out there, the more we'll be able to see this, and the Wheel of Fortune is moving forward. Things are changing, things are going to be changing. So there's that awareness of this as well. Let's just take a couple of deep breaths here. So yeah, there's this turning point that is happening. And there's also this awareness of not to get caught up in the speed of this, because I know a lot of us are like impatient. This is essence of impatience. Like, we want this done like yesterday. There's just this need to be really present with everything that is unfolding, because let me tell you, it's a lot. It's a lot. Unraveling from beliefs and, programming, it's a lot. And not everyone has that capacity to move through it gracefully. In fact, not many of us at all can move through, how does that want to be said? Like breaking free from the bondage of the programming. It is messy. I mean, they don't call it the dark night of the soul for fun and, for shits and giggles. It can be very traumatic for a lot of people. So yeah, that's current energy. And I don't know if I want to get a card on that, but I might pull something else. Let's see. Let's just mix it up a bit today, because this is a very interesting and very deep read. Again, I don't know how this is resonating in your life. But let me know. Let me know in the comments below whether you're listening to this or whether you're watching this on Rumble or YouTube. I am in the process also. I will be deleting my Instagram because... Anyway, that's irrelevant here. So we've got co-create, and we literally have observer at the bottom. So we've got co-create, and we've got building blocks, and then observer at the bottom. And this, I feel like, for me, this card means being an observer, not only to what is happening out there in the world, but being the observer, or how does that want to be said? Like just witnessing what is happening internally as well. But I love this co-create card because this is speaking to different energies. As you can see, there's a little owl and there's a leopard. Or is that a cheetah? Cheetah. And you're like, what an odd combination, right? What an odd combination. An owl and a cheetah. Or leopard. Cheetah. But somehow it works, right? So there's something about different types of energies coming together and working together to build blocks, you know, whatever that is. And so if this is relational based, if this is about, you know, a relationship with the Lovers card that was seen on the split, this is about two possibly completely different people wanting to work towards something, coming together, working towards something that will be of benefit. I do want to have a little read of that co-create card. 40. Okay. Let's see. What part do I want to read? This, like, they have a lot of explanations here. So I'm just going to read the oracle message, just the general message, because they have one for relationship, one for prosperity, blah, blah. So the co-create card is, you may not consider yourself a creative person, but in fact, you are creating your reality every moment. For F's sake. You are creating every moment of every day via your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, intentions, and actions, right? We're manifesting, where this is the, like, part of the illusion. We're creating this world with our thoughts, our beliefs, our intentions, our actions. Yet you must consider that you do so in partnership with spirit, consciousness, God, or whatever you call your higher power. You are part of this intelligence that works through you. We said that at the start. Nudging you with inspired thought and intuitive guidance. You are a paintbrush that co-creates a beautiful expression of your own individuality, blended with universal spirit. You are a product of divine inspiration. And now you're aligned with it to create miracles. I'll just interject here and say we are divine inspiration. We are the divine, one consciousness. When you view your life as art and know you co-create it, only beauty and grace result. Prepare to be amazed. So this is going back to that leap card, right? Is trusting in the process, trusting that you're supported by one consciousness, and but also be discerning, because we're not we are in this 3D expression, right? We are in this bodily form. So that requires a level of discernment. That requires a level of common sense. So yeah, let's get to any obstacles that might be rushing through during this time. What are the obstacles? Any obstacles? Wow, okay. I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to show you the cards. So if you are listening to this on the podcast, I highly recommend you head to the either Rumble or the YouTube space to have a look at the cards, to see the cards as I'm pulling them out. Obviously, you don't have to, like, for some, just listening is sufficient. Can we get one more? The obstacles. That effort just shut out. Okay. So, the obstacles. 3 of Cups. But I want you to take a look at this actual card. I don't know, it's not focusing, so anyway. And then we've got the Emperor. So this is Aries energy. So when the cards come up in the obstacles, I tend to read them upside down. So the things that might be a little bit of a challenge during this process of you really going within, discerning, unraveling from programming, is potentially projections of other people, gossip, things like that. Could be excessive partying, you know, people wanting to, it doesn't have to be actual partying, but it could be just taking you out of your element and saying, hey, you know, like skip that meditation class or skip that your somatic practice this morning. Let's go out and catch a, you know, go for a beer or something. Like, it's just being discerning and mindful that that is kind of how things can happen in a very subtle form. And I'm not saying, I'm definitely not saying don't hang out with your friends, don't hang out with people, but just trust yourself to make that, to be able to discern that for yourself. You have full sovereignty. Like, you can definitely be able to identify the things that are going to help you and the things that are going to hinder. But what that requires is space. What that requires is being in present moment. Because sometimes we can get caught up in all the celebrations of whatever and not actually focus on the task at hand. And then the Emperor showing up here is really interesting because it's a very authoritarian figure in the tarot. A boss person of sorts. So this might either be an older person in your life. This might be a boss, an actual boss. This could be, did I say a parental figure? This could be an actual parental figure as well. But someone who has a lot of influence, someone who might have some experience in things. So I take that as, especially when it comes to a more mature personality or older, doesn't necessarily mean wiser. Just being mindful of any sort of projections or opinions. Projections, sorry, I was trying to say perspectives, but projections came through, so that's interesting. From people who may posture themselves as an authoritarian figure or expert or guru. you know, when read in the obstacles, it's not necessarily a card that is empowering or working in your favor. It can be the Emperor showing up in a normal situation is like divine masculine, right? And most people, or not most people, but some people are aware that these qualities, archetypes, divine masculine, divine feminine, it's irrespective of gender. When we all have that, there's that empowered state, there's that self state, but there's also that disempowered state, the shadow state, right? So when the Emperor shows up in the shadow or the reverse or the obstacles, it can speak to some unchecked power. It can speak to someone who is very authoritative, could be stubborn, could be very rigid in their thought processes or their experience, and can speak to, you know, like a desire for control or like corruption as well. So, I mean, I did not plan on talking about this type of thing, but anyway, this is but these are all perspectives, right? This is just speaking to perceiving cards in a certain way also. So there's that. So, you know, take everything with a grain of salt. But with the Three of Cups showing here, also in the obstacles, they might be, and I think I may have spoken about this in the last read where I haven't posted yet. I don't even know what I'm going to title it. But if I remember, I'll post below. I know I've been really back and forth with it. Anyway, whatever. Not your problem. What was I saying? I was talking about, I think, the three of Cups in the shadow can also speak to, oh, yep, this is, thank you. We were speaking about when you're on this journey of self-realization, self-actualization, self-awareness, what can happen is things become so clear and obvious, and we will just generally operate from a different perspective, you know, a more open, a more receptive perspective. And that may not fly with everybody. Like, not everyone is going to appreciate that or like that, because, you know, you'll come across as weird or strange, or, you know, list the various ways people can make you feel a certain way when you're on a specific type of journey, especially when it's unraveling from garbage thoughts and belief systems and concepts, right? So there is an energy of, you know, people might leave your life. People might, you might find, or either that, or you'll find the disconnection yourself. You'll be like, this friendship doesn't really resonate with me anymore because of whatever, or this relationship doesn't resonate with me because of whatever. So yeah, those are the obstacles, is just being aware of the fact that, yeah, people might leave your life, your friendships will change, or not, you know, that it might strengthen them. That there's just that need to be aware of, when you pull back and retract from a lot of societal conditioning and conditioning in general, there's something that happens on an energetic level, like your frequency changes, and that, like, we're all energy, everything is energy, so that is going to affect anything that happens outside of you as well, right? Woo! Let's get let's actually move forward and get, actually, oh, So yeah, there might be some kind of back and forth type of energy here as well. I'll just pull a card for the obstacles. This back and forth energy and trying to kind of find your place, like figure out where it is that you fit in. Yeah. I've just got new life to clarify, not to clarify, just to side note the obstacles here. So yeah, as I said, things or people might just fall away naturally, and that's okay, you know, like with that series card, where is it? You know, it's like nurture the connections and the processes that feel and I don't mean from a feelings perspective, that are easy, that feel easy, that don't feel like they charge you necessarily, right? They don't create necessarily a energetic emotional charge within you, but they just feel, I'm hearing the word divine, that just feels divine. I don't know why that's being said, but unless anything else wants to come through, I'm not quite sure how to express that, but I feel like whoever's watching, if you're still watching, you get it. Yeah, so this process is going to create some sort of new life, and just looking at that card, it's like someone is like waking up from the slumber, right? Waking up from the unreality. Okay, so let's get our last cards here about moving forward. Do we want one more? So we've got Six of Pentacles, which speaks of reciprocity. So equal give and take, right? Equal give and take. And we've also got the Ace of Wands here. So new beginnings. Wands usually speak of passion projects, creation, creativity, things of a fiery, passionate nature. So there might be new opportunities that come from being in this whole process here. There may be just noticing reciprocity within the connections that you have as well, because when you're going through this, you there's an awareness of where my just spoke about this. The last couple of, they all kind of feed into each other, and it's very interesting to witness how this is all playing out. But are we leaking energy? Are we giving away too much of ourselves? You know, place that how it fits for you. Or is there a situation where how does that want to be expressed? There's an element of trust, but there's also this just equality. You know, there's this common ground, common understanding. And just looking, I don't know why I'm being drawn to this, but the numbers, because I haven't spoken about any of the other numbers, although now that I'm seeing it, I'm like, what the shit? So the obstacle numbers are 3 and 4 and reduced, they're down to 7, and 6 and 1 is 7 as well. So 7's, I think I mentioned this in one of the other videos, 7s are playing a major role here, and 7s in the tarot speaks to reflection. So being in the self-reflective state, which is presence. And there's a lot of things that are going to be unraveled. A lot of things are going to be released. And yeah, just coming into that space, like from a financial perspective as well, like a equalization of material wealth. I feel like that's going to take a while, but anyway, it might not for everybody. It might be a very, very quick process. you know, that's going to play out differently for everybody. I'm talking about on the global scale. That sort of situation is going to take a while, but I'm so here for it. Anyway, and yeah, just bringing attention to the things that inspire you, the things that you enjoy doing as well, you know, whether it is writing or whether it is whatever it is that you enjoy doing, like work with that. We've got Queen of Pentacles here in the upright. She's, you know, cooking a nice meal. So if that's your focus, family's your focus, go for it. If being creative is your focus, you know, focus on that. It's like really being discerning with what is pulling your energy in the wrong direction. I mean, there's also the need to say that nothing is ever in the wrong direction, right? These are just when things are a quote unquote mistake. I don't really assign to that belief. Things are put in place for us to learn more, for us to unlearn more, I should say. Just departing from certain types of concepts and ideas and ideologies that have been forced onto us. I say forced, but I'm being corrected there. It's like that it's been a very subtle subtle projection, a subtle programming, you know, of belief systems. So yeah, do what is it they say, that saying? I'm hearing that idle hands saying. Idle hands is the devil's playground. Is that what that saying is? I saw it in a movie once. All my 90s people will know which movie I'm talking about. I think it's literally called Idle Hands. Oh my god, I've not watched that movie in so long. Anyway, I digress. There's a bit of pop culture for you. But yeah, this is about growth. This is about learning and yeah, trusting the process, trusting what that process is for you, because it's going to be individual, you know. So let's get a what is this deck called? Wisdom of the Oracle for that. Destiny. Did we not say that before? Oh, the World card. Oh, Wheel of Fortune, sorry. Destiny. This is fated. Whatever this changes, whatever this shift is working for you, not against you. It's happening for you, not against you. What a fucking cool read, man. I'm so on board with this. Let's get a couple of healing messages to finish off. And of course, if this is resonating with you or whatever, you know, feel free to comment below, subscribe to this channel, or if you're on the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, and yeah, connect with me, because I will be putting the email, I've changed my email to candice@magicandmusing.com. So feel free to contact me there. Okay. All right, let's get a couple of healing messages. Oh, I love it. Creating cooperation. Cannot make this shit up. More gets accomplished when everyone has a role to play. And ideally we do. We all have a role to play in this massive drama called life, right? Yeah. These cards illuminating the truth. I'm willing to see things clearly no matter what the outcome. No matter the outcome, sorry. So that's hard. That takes work. That takes a lot of shadow work to be able to, and this is where that nurture card I feel comes in. It's about like, wow, I believed that for how long? For the entirety of my existence. And fuck, that sucks to learn the truth of it. But, you know, and it's not an easy process. Again, I spoke to the dark night of the soul. That's what that's talking about, is unraveling from the illusion. Overcoming fear. I will transcend every loss. Yeah. Absolutely. It is scary. It is scary to start, you know, investigating the truth. It is hard to unravel from our beliefs and our programming. It ain't a bag of chips. It's not. It's not. There's a card I feel that wants to come out here, so I'll just give it another shuffle. Dispelling sadness. There's also soothing impatience at the bottom of that. I will feel better once I get the rest I need. I feel like that what that's talking about is this spaciousness. Because rest can look very, in however many ways, whether, you know, it's like physically taking a breath, just giving your mind a break from all the things that have been playing out for us. And again, this card is being played within the fingers, and I only just saw that welcoming surrender. There is, what is this saying? There is no problem, only destiny being revealed. Mic drop. Boom. That's where we'll end with that. Let me know your what's going on, how you're processing this. Like, yeah, let me know what's going on in the membranes, in the wee gray cells. And yeah, let's have a conversation. Other than that, thank you so much for being here with me today. And I will catch up with you in the next video or the podcast. Do check out the podcast, because there will be conversations around my personal experiences unraveling from certain beliefs. And yeah, I'm no professional, I'm no expert, no guru. I do not assign with those titles at all. It's just personal experience, and I can only ever speak from that space. So if this resonated with you, you might want to listen to some of the episodes in that space. Although I've only got one episode that I've released since May, because I took a break from social media. And I'll be talking about that in more detail again as I go through this process of I'm going into this process of deleting my Instagram account. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye.